Hey everyone, it's Matt along with Goo, and today I'm going to talk about Dragon Quest VIII event. How much we've been looking forward to this, such great units, and honestly, there isn't a bad unit in a bunch. So stay tuned or get whipped.
Correct and whip.
All right, unfortunately, we can't quite crack that whip with Jessica, but she is our first unit. A unit that we've all been waiting for, not just from a fan favorite, but she is still one of the best units in the game in JP. Her leadership effect is increased hero spell power by 20%, which is fantastic for her and a few other units as well. Not going to say it's the highest overall leadership effect in the game, but it is very useful for her. You're going to actually see that there are four skills instead of three skills for the DQ8 units. Almost all of them have accumulate, which is basically raise tension, which gives you a increased strength for one more turn, which does a lot more damage overall. Uh, Her next first skill is Sexy Beam, which is our first charming skill. Very useful. Also inflicts martial damage, which is kind of unique for a spellcaster like her, but it's very useful for some of the events that are happening in Dragon Quest VIII as well, which I'll go over. Gihren's Fireball does frizz damage four times to an enemy. Once again, very important for the Dark Boss coming in DQ8. And Vigaragon, which is a very wide range spell, sizz spell damage on all enemies. This is like the Dragon Lord's ability with 5 wide. This is one of her insane abilities. She also has an incredibly powerful finishing move that uses up all of her MP. That is very important for a lot of boss battles in the future as well. Basically, you're trying to avoid the last 30% HP, and you use Jessica for that. Her awakening skill, she recovers MP every 3 turns, which is incredibly important. Whoosh and zap resistance. She can tension up on her own and spell power plus 5% on 30, and her fifth one is MP plus 50 and spell power plus 5%. Personally, I think 3 hearts is her optimal, but I'll get into her more later with my unit review, which I will post separately.
Not now. I've almost got this game in the bag.
Next is Angelo, another unit. This is a fighter. He increases heroic attack power by 20%, which is also a pretty good leadership effect. Personally, I feel Angelo is the worst unit of the four, and he's still very good unit. Um, he has accumulate just like Jessica. Fearless Smile, which reduces the defense and lower physical resistance for 3 turns. Does some attack. The second skill is Freezing Blow, inflicts 125% critical damage to all enemies twice. And Shining Bow does 37 bang physical damage 8 times. We're going to start seeing bosses that have some unique that you need to have a lot of these physical, or not physical damage, but repeated damage to like go shields quickly, etc. Angelo is top for that with his 8 times. Um, and as I say, he's still a very good unit. He's better than the units that we have been receiving, other than I think Schneidel Tank. That one's higher than Angelo. But the rest of the units that we've been receiving for the last couple of weeks, especially outside of Schneidel Tank, is weaker than Angelo. This is just how powerful these units are. Um, Awakening skill, start of even turns up to 10, damage dealt by you is 4 turns, and others 3 by 10% in the rhombus type fashion. He's got frizz and zam resistance, tension up and physical power 5%, increases physical and spell resistance for 3 turns and physical power 5%. Still a very good unit, but personally I feel it's the worst unit of the four. Dark Guard Rhapthorne is another one. Boss unit mage. Enhances enemy zam resistance by 25 reduces enemies and resistance by 25%. Probably the weakest leadership effect. Dark Guard Rhapthorne is, I think, to me, a little better than Angelo, but you can argue these two are easily the worst out of the 4 units total, but still a very good unit. The type where I really, really do hope that with my limited pulls, I'll be able to do that. I will get them. First skill, Black Ball, range of 4, inflicts spell damage on one enemy and has high chance of confusion. Grand Cross, look at that spread skill, does Zam spell damage to a very large enemy and has 3 range. And Falling Stars will randomly deal damage to enemy 5 times and can increase damage overall by 3 turns. These are some pretty unique abilities. Personally, the Grand Cross and Falling Stars are really powerful spells. His First Awakening actually negates damage once completely. It is only once. It's a little odd, but has some nice power and lack of power as well. Whoosh resistance second, zap fourth. Will recover HP below 70 once and have a 5% spell increase. And fifth, CMP recovery and fifth spell. Unfortunately, Rhapthorne does need a lot of awakenings to really start unlocking. So, as I say, between the two of them, they're weaker by far. The other incredible powerful one is Dhoulmagus.
But where are the clowns? Send in the clowns.
This one doesn't quite sound as powerful as you would say, but it just got knocked out of the top 5. This is a unit that counters incredible powerful units like Nocturnus, especially in Arena. He has the ability to just walk through, and he has 4 speed, so he could just walk through any obstacle as well. And First Awakening, 100% dodge for 3 turns at the battle start. Sounds incredibly overwhelmingly overpowered. It's pretty powerful, to be honest, especially as a First Awakening. But breath and spells can really do some serious damage to Dhoulmagus because of the lack of HP overall. Since I'm going with the Awakening skills, bang, zap for the 2. Third one, can rarely seal spells when physically attacking, and a 5% physical. And the last one is 10% sealing success and 5% more physical overall damage. First skill is Creeping Shadow, inflicts Sam martial damage and can block movement. Second one's Evil Eyes, which does very large damage to all enemies. And the last one's Playing with Clowns, causes great damage to all enemies and draws up to 2 squares, allowing him to move even farther. Very, very powerful unit for Arena, especially if you are playing against a team that doesn't have, is just focusing on physical. Insanely powerful there. Some bosses are immensely weak to Dhoulmagus as well. Very, very good unit. Jessica, I think, is number 1. Dhoulmagus is his easy number 2. And Rhapthorne and Angelo are 3rd and 4th. Close. All very, very good units.
Oi! You want to watch it? Don't go throwing accusations about. You don't want to get on my wrong side.
On top of that, we also get Yangus, who's our free S unit. I'm also going to have a separate thing on Yangus as well. But he increases defense power by 20%, which is by far the weakest of the leadership effects. It still has its uses, but generally we're looking for our attack to bonus that there, so that's why it's a little weak. The Awakening skill, beginning of battle, will increase movement for 1 turn. That's really helpful for Yangus. Has Whoosh and Zab resistance. Third is 100 HP 50 with physical power plus 5, and the last one's another physical power plus 5. Can accumulate just like the other heroes from DQ8. Bandit's Tech B will occasionally make all enemies sleep. Tick is 80% physical damage on all enemies 3 times and move up to 3 squares. on a Musu, inflicts 260% physical damage to all enemies. Yangus is a good S unit, especially for being free. And in this, there are only 10 what I call ways that you have to finish it, and you can look at his stats too. But more importantly, you just need to clear chapter 1-4, get Yangus to level 90, do 500 DQ8 events quests, which is going to be fairly easy because this event's going to last about 5.5 weeks. And hopefully, we're not going to get anything else in between. 20 units ranked up. That's going to be easy, even if you've got all of your units ranked up, because there's a lot of units we're going to be able to farm that are brand new. 50 enemies recruited, same thing. 200 skills awakened, 200 alchemy attempts. These are going to be very expensive, but you can try and do the low level ones instead to save some money for at least the skills. The alchemy, it's gold related. That might be a challenge to some. Clear Yangus Road 7, which is actually going to be fairly easy because you'll get one of the strongest units with that for free. The other one, if you get Jessica, which I highly suggest most people do, or at least try, will make Yangus Road very, very easy. Get to level 10 in Super Giant Boss Battle, which will probably be the hardest of one of the two hardest. The other one is to clear 22nd basement floor, which is the hardest floor. Or basically, it's the Dhoulmagus Tower. At the very least, you'll be able to get into 4 hearts, as stated. Personally, the good news is the 5th one is only a 5% physical up, so even if you can't get the last 2, you'll still be able to get a very powerful Yangus overall. The summonable unit for Jessica is the Robo Robin. It is a whoosh type unit. I'll go over more in detail. There, leadership effect though is inorganic by 10%, and you can see the skills here. 2 of them are whoosh, which we really haven't had a lot of whoosh units lately. Big issue here that I see is that the attack is decent but not incredibly high, and the agility is not the best either. Next one's Tentacler. This is from Angelo. This unit is actually pretty interesting. Increases physical skill nature by 10%. That leadership's not so much. Has a lot of martial attacks, so all it really has is a lot of HP, and the rest of the stats are kind of meh. The agility is fine as well. It also has Kiki, which gives it a chance to increase its power by 1.5x. Basically, it's using its martial advantage to try to do its greatest with the Kiki, and it can do some decent damage, especially with Tentacle Stretch, which can pull them towards you and occasionally seal movement of enemies, which can be very, very helpful. Next one from Dark Guard Rhapthorne is Geyser, who is a pretty good unit. Is a sizzle type unit that does a lot of physical damage, can curse, and also has great attack, really good HP, and decent defense. Its greatest weakness is the movement, and its first awakening will give you power and movement power and attack power for 1 turn at the beginning to get him at least moving fairly fast into battle. So from an A unit, it is actually a pretty good overall skill set. Has good HP defense combination for an A unit, along with good attack. The Curse Cut here is a skill that might be useful for other units in battles if the bosses are weak to Curse. Otherwise, you're really just going to be focusing on Cursed Heat Raid or Flash Heat, depending on how the enemies are surrounded. But once again, I think Cursed Heat Raid is going to be the main and only skill that you use. The last summonable unit in the group is for Dhoulmagus, is Bulldozer. Very interesting unit. Its attack, agility, and movement are insanely high, but its HP and defense are insanely low. Has the ability to seal breath attacks, to paralyze, and to lower defense. I really like this unit. Its greatest weakness is the three skills are non-elemental, which you can also kind of argue that makes it very, very flexible as well. Increases the physical power of beast by 10%. This is one of those units, as I say, uh, is very interesting, and its first awakening increases the attack power and quickness for 2 turns until turn 3. It is a very scary unit on that second turn if you can get it to survive. It hits hard. So this is a unit that I'm shocked it's paired with Dhoulmagus. I like this unit in a lot of the theory behind it. The my hope is that Jessica doesn't completely drain me, so that I can do some additional pulls for Dhoulmagus. So those are all the paid pulls. Let's go for the free unit first. This is Trap Box. It is a confusion type enemy. I'm going to actually go through this in more detail. It has Confuse, which occasionally confuses an enemy. Blizzard, which will do crack breath damage on all enemies. And then the third one is 195% physical power to all enemies and subtypes confuses with Pick of Chaos. Its attack at 415 for being a free unit especially is pretty high. It just only has one real attack ability. And I suggest adding more debuff and focusing this unit as a debuffing jerk. And using Pick a Chaos when you can to try and confuse enemies. It will increase power and quickness for the first turn for 1 turn if it confuses an enemy. So on units or boards that have very large amount of confused weak enemies, this unit all of a sudden becomes pretty scary overall. The third and fifth awakening give an additional 5% confusion success rate. So all in all, it's kind of a meh unit. We've seen a lot better free units before, but if you use Baramos and you love the Confuse skill, Trap Box is Baramos' best friend, and just confuse away, and you will see some severe damage. So there is some decent usage out of Trap Box. Has good agility, has pretty decent survivability, and its attack is really high. It's just that attack you're only really going to use Pick a Chaos for. But because it's got a good range, I don't think it's too much of an issue. And also, Trap Box and stuff, the agility is good enough where it can do decent amount of attacks. The other farmable units that we've got 6 other units. When I say 15th floor or whatever, that is the optimal part to get in the Dhoulmagus. And I'll talk more about this here. But we have 2 new B units, Killer Moth and Phantom Swordsman. 2 C units, Lost Soul and Squid Kid. A D Calamari Kid and E Lump Mage. So I do highly suggest that if you haven't, and it might be a little late by the time I upload, we are going to need those white orbs, and that is actually going to be kind of the most painful part about this. But these units are all farmable. At least try to get 1 for your collection sets. And because, as I say, the event's fairly long, and some of these are actually relatively cheap or easy to get, I do highly suggest to try to get these units, at least a couple of awakened if possible. All right. Sorry, guys. Our weapons and armor, we do have 5 pieces of weapons and 1 piece of armor. We have it's split evenly between S's and A's. Dark God's Rod, which is from Rhapthorne's challenge, is very powerful. Gives 28% wisdom, 4% spell power. Dark Meteor Falling Star, which is obviously for Dark God Rhapthorne. Wisdom and MP. Very, very good spell. If you don't think you're going to get Rhapthorne or not planning for it, then you're going to uh, get his wisdom and MP. But if you do have Rhapthorne, Dark Meteor, and Falling Star will be your targets. Second one is Clown's Claw, which is going to be for Dhoulmagus, which we can get in Sky, Sea, and Earth. Attack plus 14, agility 20, and physical power plus 4%. Creeping Shadow, Jester Play, attack, and agility. This is, interestingly enough, not the piece of weapon that I would actually equip my Dhoulmagus with, but I could see a lot of people equipping him with that. So if you want to put Creeping Shadow, Jester Play on it, I'm going to try to put this as agility and attack primarily, because once again, I think Lollipop's going to be the best for Dhoulmagus because you want to keep his HP up high, and that makes him very, very scary, even more so. The armor is Crown of the Sun. This is part of the Grand Champions. You get MP 14, Defense 8, Confusion Resist plus 10%. The Alchemy, you can get more Confusion Resist and Resist MP and Defense. Confusion is a very important thing. There's a lot of bosses that generally, and events that we generally have to have Confusion Resist for. So this is actually a pretty decent piece of armor to try and see if you can get another Confusion Resist up or two to try to get into like the 15% area, just because that's really what armor is used for, and just helping that will be very, very helpful. The other three are for the Dragon Quest 8 units. Knight's Rapier is for Angelo, HP 36 attack, 11 physical power plus 2. All of Angelo's two main skills, agility and attack. Sansuku Ono is Yangus's axe, gives you attack 22 and physical power 2%. You get Yangus's attack, HP, and attack. And the last one, Magical Mace, is for Jessica. I really wish they gave her a whip, but they don't want us to whip it good. Wisdom 22, spell power 2. Gives Alchemy her skills, wisdom, agility, and MP. Especially if you're going to use it for Jessica, I would highly just focus on wisdom, because the MP you're pretty much going to blow away on her final attack. So her MP really just doesn't matter anyways. There's a lot of events going on, so I'm gonna try to go through this fairly quickly. Dhoulmagus Tower Pursuit is kind of the main beefing for the events available. We have 22 floors, very odd number, but that's the number that they came up with. Floor 17 through 22 will get you Dark God Rhapthorne keys, which we will need for the Super Boss battle. You can get some monsters and new equipment farming here. Obviously, the hardest levels, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, will give you the best odds. All of the stamina, I believe, is the exact same. So farming for those levels is the best. Lump Mage, Squid Kid, Sensuku Uno, Phantom Swordsman, and Magical Mace can be gotten here. Obviously, you're probably only going to be focusing on floors 12, 13, 15 for the most part. Magical Mace you'll be focusing on to get the perfect skills for Jessica and for Sensuku Ono for Yangus. But those you're not going to focus as much on as the others, just to try and get, especially Phantom Swordsman's pretty good as a B unit, as B units go. The next one is Road to Grand Champion. This one is fairly easy, especially considering where we are currently in the game. It has its own short challenge with its own rewards. The toughest is not going to be finishing it, but getting certain rewards, because some of them require 120 weight or below. But these quests are actually possible that one powerful S rank, Nocturnus, can actually solo, or if you need to, you can bring in like the Condor for a heal or a buff, and can actually solo a lot of these for the challenges of lower weight class. Even the S class is fairly easy. You just have to be careful of poison. And here you can get Night Raper, Crown of the Sun, and these rewards here, which is good for the Rainbow Orb. The scroll is okay, and more importantly, you're probably going to go with the Rainbow Orb first, then the book, then the scroll. But if you can't complete them all, you can take a look for what you need for the scroll. Next is Dark God Rhapthorne's Challenge. It's a boss battle that takes 0 stamina. Reward is Dark God's Wand. So this one here, Rhapthorne will have a spell, physical and breath resistance. So it will be lowered until 50%. So if you can use martial attacks, it will not be lowered. So some martial teams would be very, very useful. And at less than 30% health, we'll get roughly 6,450 HP back. It's actually around 56 HP back and very hard. So you're going to want to try and bleed him down as quickly as possible. That's why Jessica's on the team. This is the suggested team and used to cover tank to protect Jessica. But it's not a super hard battle. It is just super annoying. And at turn 5 or 50 HP, whichever comes first, will start attacking harder. And with the star skill, that will spread out around 1100 HP attack. So unless if you've got a very strong tank or you've got many units that you can spread out the damage from and hopefully spread them out, they will die. So be very, very careful. This boss can be a little bit tricky, but all in all, it's not too bad. Warriors in the World of Light. This is the challenge battle. You're going to be fighting Jessica, Yangus, and Angelo, and I've specifically put them in that order because that is the danger level. Jessica by far is the most dangerous, followed by Yangus, who is much more dangerous than Angelo. The rewards on the bottom right are mostly icons, so if you can't do this battle, you're not really missing much of anything of super quote-unquote importance. This is kind of the challenge overall. The goal is to kill Jessica, then Yangus. Turn 1, if you can use Squidzilla and you have him upgraded enough, move him turn 1 so that he can block Jessica from moving. With that, it will lower the threat of Yangus and Angelo greatly in the fight. This is actually kind of important for most players to do that. Squidzilla is obviously the best unit. If you have not Talent Blossomed him, there are some other units that you can use. But Squidzilla will be able to survive Jessica's anger for the first turn. Should try to kill Jessica as quickly as you can. Some people might be able to do it by turn 1, but you need to do it by turn 2 or 3. And while basically lowering the attack on Yangus and Angelo when you can. Finish off Yangus by turn 4. And the main reason that you want to kill Jessica first is turn 5, she'll cast her ultimate, which is going to guarantee to kill a unit. And when I mean guarantee, there's a chance that she can do 6,000 to 7,000 HP damage to a unit. I don't think there's a way to survive it. But once again, almost everyone tries to kill Jessica really, really quickly. So that could be some fun things to see if it's possible, but I do not think so. The team suggestion is down below. There are a lot of units that you can use. I think the two most important ones is Squidzilla and our good old Arenasaurus. Those two, along with either Seraphy or Clara, I think they're kind of set. And then you can just bring in whatever other units that you're looking for to try and do what you can. And good luck. Next is the Adventures of Sky, Sea, and Earth. There will be 5 areas, and each area has 3 difficulties. Each of the areas will have different strengths and weaknesses. Wait. That sounds like can use similar units for stages if you want to. So yes, don't worry, guys. This is not going to be one of those boss battles where you just keep going over and over again, having to use different units. These are 5 stages. This is an easier version. I think they kind of backed off on that, which is a little disappointing, but I think partially is we're starting to get enough units where it is a challenge for the very laid back players, but for a lot of others, it's just really annoying to keep track of them all. So, see less than that. Farm the trap box and get Clown's Claw S rank weapons here. This is going to be the main ones here. You're going to be focusing on actually repeating these over and over again. So the list of drop characters and equipment down below. We have the Pelmid region for the Trap Box, Savella region for the Killer Moth, Isolated Land for Lost Soul, Sea area around Rosias for the Calamari Kid, and the Dark Fortified City for Clown's Call. I do, because these ones are a little bit tougher. I did do a quick little thing for this. For Dark Fortified City, you can kill the other units quickly, if possible, turn 1. You're going to want to use the DQ 8 units are great for high damage goals because you can use Accumulate to increase their tension, which will allow you to do 1500 or higher damage overall. Rhapthorne will dispel buffs on even turns, so if you attack before the enemy, you want to do tension on odd turns. If you are slower than Rhapthorne, then you want to do it on even turns, just to time this correctly so that you can do your 1500 damage. Suggested units are below, but once again, the overall damage is 1800. I'm not going to say it's very, very difficult overall from a CP standpoint. It's just making sure that you understand the overall battle mechanics. The rest of these are actually fairly easy. Pelmid region is with the trap box. All you really care about is confusion. This is where they're going to try to get you at. This is a confusion stage, so just have units that are resistance to confusion. The Savella region. This one actually, if you can slow down and if you've got a pretty large Dragon Quest team, use units that can accumulate, or you can power up themselves or power up others. Allow for turn 1 for the enemies to get closer to you. These units, especially the boss, have a high evasion rate, so use breath and magic if you can. But if you don't, just be prepared to be annoyed slightly. The Isolated Land, just defeat the Arc Buffalo first. Really not much else to say here. And Savella region, basically this one is just nuke using Bang and Zap to make easy work. So overall, as I say, not the hardest overall battles. The last of the really major things here we have a super boss battle. You'll need keys to unlock this battle, which you can get throughout the event. Dark God Rhapthorne will be using mostly Sam attacks. Here are some suggested units. A lot of these units have multiple hits. You are going to probably want to bring a healer especially in the later ones, just because your first turn is going to be mostly built around taking down the barrier. And it requires 7 hits to be weakened. This does not count. So if you use a skill, and as I say, Angelo had a skill that hit a unit 8 times, that works. But if you used like Dragon Lord with this 5 wide that attacks each spot once, it will only count as 1 hit. So it's got to be multiple hits in the same attack, like Nocturnus, Yangus, or Hellion as well. So if you don't break down his shield first turn, he will do very, very large damage, and on top of that, you will get no damage done to it. So I just want to warn people right off the bat for this. If you have Jessica, you can actually try and charm him. The last two spots in the center of the map can be very dangerous for low moving units. Most of his attacks focus in that area and make it where the evasion's off into the upper corners of the map. So if you've only got two moving, that unit will usually get hit very hard consistently. There are 20 separate levels to beat with this boss, and it is weak to sizzle and crackle. So units that have the ability to attack the same spot more than once and has an area of effect, sizzle and crackles skills are optimal for this battle. Finally, we have two new battle roads. First one is going to be Yangus. There are a lot of new units to this battle road. Obviously, you're going to get Yangus. The other 4 units you should have. And the new units, these 3 here, the B, C, and E can be farmed. S and A are Jessica Banner. The last one here is the Trap Box. You have Dhoulmagus and the Arc Buffalo here, along with 3 other farmable units, plus these 3 units here. All in all, these are just battle roads. Please use them as you need to. This will allow you to level up the Dragon Quest 8 units to max. So I highly suggest, if you have the ability to do so, I would focus on that, as that always is very helpful for everyone. I know I went through a lot. I hope you guys are excited about DQ8 as I am. Good luck and enjoy. Goodbye.